Hello, this is Billy Core from the Nostalgia Mall, and today we're going to take another look at the Dell Latitude C610 that I got about 6 months ago. And we're going to be a little bit mean to it. I'll explain that in a moment, but first let me explain something else. Not too long ago I acquired a Dell Latitude C600. Of course I had one before. I gave it to my cousin for his birthday last year, but I recently acquired a second one for myself. And what I like about the C600 compared to the C610 is that it's essentially the same computer, but the big difference is that the audio chip is different. You see, in the C600, when you're running an operating system like Windows 98, it gives you good DOS mode support with reasonably sounding MIDI and stuff like that. But on the C610, it uses a different type of audio chip, one that does not work with DOS very well. You can get digital sound out of it, but MIDI, just forget it. So now that I've got two laptops that are similar yet different, what I've decided to do is I'm going to use the C600 for most of my retro computer needs for laptops. And for the C610, I'm going to just keep this out here in the office permanently until I decide to sell it and just use it to tinker with random stuff, and use it as kind of a portable vintage laptop for stuff out here in the office, like if I'm in my recliner or something watching TV and want to play an old game. So I could go ahead and put 98 back on here. That would probably be the sensible thing to do. But, you know, I'm not going to get good DOS support out of here anyway. So, just to change things up a little bit, I'm going to install an operating system on here that is very, very controversial and will probably get me in trouble. And ladies and gentlemen, here is the operating system. Yes, that's right, folks. Windows ME. We're going to put ME on this computer. Now, Windows ME, as you know, is very, very, very controversial. It was a rushed-out product, full of bugs, and it was kind of a stopgap between 98 and XP. We all know that, but in my personal experience of Windows ME, I never really had that many issues with it. My first experience with ME was back in 2000, right after it came out, when I purchased this very CD from Best Buy. This is a special step-up CD that's designed only to upgrade from Windows 98 or Windows 98 Second Edition. It was only $50. It was kind of a promotional thing they had at the time. But I used it to upgrade my never obsolete E-machine from 98 Second Edition to ME. And while it ran kind of slow, but of course on 98 it was kind of slow to begin with because 32 megs of RAM, and that point in time was, it never really crashed that much. My dad installed it on his HP Pavilion from 1999. Again, ran just fine. We even put it on the Toshiba Satellite 2505 CDS. Ran quite slow, but ran quite reliably. The Gateway from 2001 that I got, on the other hand, it came pre-installed with Windows ME, so you'd think it would have ran perfectly well. Ran horribly. I mean, it was fast, but it was incredibly crash happy. It was crashing in ways you cannot understand. But I even installed Windows XP on it. It still crashed like crazy. But I think that was because I did an in-place upgrade, and as you know, that's really not the way to do things. So, as you can see, Windows ME, never really had too many problems with it. So why don't I use Windows ME instead of Windows 98 these days? Well, just simply for two reasons. One, a lot of times I need real mode DOS, and while Windows ME is still built upon the 9X kernel with DOS in it, you can't really access it anymore through Windows ME without a bunch of hacking. And two, Windows 98 is just a little bit more retro and more nostalgic for me. So that's the two big reasons why I go with 98 instead of ME. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and turn this computer on and get to installing. Okay, so you're going to laugh at this. You're going to laugh at this real hard because I sure didn't. I started to install Windows ME, well, not really get to the setup yet, but set up all the partitioning stuff and copy the files, the setup files over to the hard drive when I realized the camera wasn't recording. I forgot to hit record. So I had to go back in and just completely wipe the drive and just zero it out so we can just start from scratch on camera. I feel like a dummy. So first thing we need to do is turn on the computer, and we're going to boot from a Acronis Os Selector Cd, because while I can do all the partitioning from the Windows setup CD, this is a 60 gigabyte hard drive, and formatting a partition that size is going to take all day. So by using Acronis Os Selector, we can be lazy and cut that time in half. So we'll go ahead and partition. I'm going to give it a 30 gig partition for the OS. And set it as active. And we'll make a 25 gig partition for storing my game files and other documents and music and stuff like that. And both are going to be partitioned as FAT32. Okay, we'll take the Acronis Os Selector CD out now, and we're going to put the Windows CD in, but we're actually going to put in a Windows 98 CD. And I'll explain that in a moment. But first we'll go ahead and commit the changes to the drive. See if it'll, sometimes it'll boot automatically, sometimes it won't. LED on the drive is blinking, so okay, we'll just Control Alt Delete and go to the boot menu. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. This optical drive is not the most healthy in the world, I don't think. It's a CDRW drive, and if this drive gives us any trouble in this video, I can always grab the DVD drive out of the C600 and put it in here temporarily just to get Windows installed. So there's a solution for that if necessary. And it's not even wanting to try. Okay, is it going to work this time? Making noises. There we go. Okay, the reason we're booting from a Windows 98 CD is because when I install Windows, any derivative of Windows 9X, be it 95, 98 ME, I like to copy all the install files to Windows/options/cabs, because that's the way OEMs did it back in the day. And I like to make the drive bootable into a DOS prompt so we can reboot and get into a DOS prompt to get to the install files. Well, as you know, Windows ME was designed, while it claims to be completely DOS free, it really isn't. It's still based on 9X and uses DOS under the hood, but it has ways of hiding it. And one of those ways is to get rid of the /S command when you do a partition format, meaning you can't make the drive bootable. So that's where the Windows 98 CD comes in. We're just going to use it to make it bootable, go to the Win98 folder, format C/Q for a quick format, and /S to make the drive bootable. And we'll label it OS, and go to the C drive and make our directories Windows, Options, Cabs, now I've always found this kind of funny. Well, first we need to put the Windows ME CD in here, because we're ready for it now. I've always found it funny how on Windows 95 CDs, the setup files are in a folder called Win95. On Windows 98 it's in a folder called Win98. So you would assume on the Windows ME CD it would be in a WinME directory. Well, you would be wrong. It's actually in the Win9X directory. I'm not sure why, not that it really matters, but that's just how it is. So we'll go ahead and copy all the files from E:/Win9X, and it can't read from the disk because this drive is apparently wanting to end its life. Okay, it's going now. Hopefully it'll be able to copy all the files with no problem. I'm a little concerned about the drive, but like I said, if need be, we can just borrow the drive out of the C600. And by the way, this Windows ME CD I'm using is not the one I showed on camera a while ago, because that was just an upgrade version. This is the full non-upgrade version. So I'll go ahead and pause the video here, and we'll catch you on the other side. Alright, everything copied with no problem. I'll be a little bit slow, so I'll go ahead and take the CD out. Give it a Control-Alt-Delete. And it should boot to a Windows 98 command prompt. There we go. And we'll go to the Windows/Options/Cabs directory. And we'll do setup/IS so it doesn't do the scan disk. And here's the Windows Millennium Edition setup. Now, I've mentioned it before about computers like this, the older type that had the hot swappable drive bays, where you could swap out a CD drive for a floppy drive. If you don't have a floppy drive hooked up at the moment like I do, and you're installing any derivative of Windows 9X, 95, 98 ME, there will be times where it will try to seek from the floppy drive that doesn't exist, and it will get hung up for a little bit. Just give it about a minute or two, and it'll straighten itself out, and you can proceed as usual. So that's what it's doing right now, so we'll just give it a minute. Alright, welcome to Windows ME Setup. Congratulations on choosing Windows Millennium Edition, the software that makes your computer more powerful, reliable, manageable, and entertaining. Popular opinion may differ with that, believe it or not. So we want it to install into the Windows directory, not Windows.000 like it wants to. Now, I know I've shown installs like this before in the past, but I'm really not sure if I've ever shown a Windows ME setup before like this on the channel, so that's why I'm showing this on camera. And we'll choose the features we want. Go. And we'll name it Dell C610. Dell Latitude C610. And regional settings there. United States for everything, because that's where I live. And we're in the Eastern time zone. And this is where it's going to get hung up again because of the floppy drive. Alright, ready to begin copying files. So it's simple enough. The setup process is more or less hardly any different from Windows 98, except for a few minor little things here and there. And you're probably also wondering, why am I not installing Windows 2000 on here? Well, I did consider that actually, but there are a few computer games here and there that just don't run right on Windows 2000. So I'm just going to keep this computer, at least for now, Windows 9X based. But Windows 2000 may go on here eventually, and if I do, I'll try to make a video about it. So it's going to copy the files over. It's going fairly fast, but I'll go ahead and pause the video so you don't have to die of boredom. Alright, we're ready to restart. And we should see the Windows ME splash screen for the first time. And a potentially appropriate video thumbnail. I always loved how the moving little bar at the bottom here is still blue, just like it was on the 95 and 98 splash screens. They just kept it the same on ME, despite the splash screen itself being white now. Little things amuse me, I know. Okay, setting up hardware. Again, this really isn't that different from 98, just looks a little different. Okay, now it's detecting non-plug-and-play hardware. Funny thing about this computer is apparently it originally shipped with Windows XP, despite it being a Pentium 3, which makes sense. When XP first came out for the first few years, running it on a Pentium 3 was not a bad idea at all. But nowadays, there's really no point at all to be running XP on a Pentium 3, unless you're specifically nostalgic for XP running on a Pentium 3. Well, I guess that's a good excuse right there, but I'm not. Okay, here's the part where it's going to need some user input. Okay, my name is Billy Core. The Nostalgia Mall is my company. I totally read that. You can take me to court on that. And now for the product key. Alright, that's all the input it needs from me. So it should take care of the rest on its own. And it should be done in about 10 minutes, excluding the time it's going to take to seek from a non-existent floppy drive. You got another reboot there. I don't know how Windows ME is going to run on this computer. I've never had it on here before. The reliability of Windows ME just simply depends on the type of computer you install it on. It's just a hit or miss type of thing. It could run beautifully, or it can run like a pile of very disgusting matter from who knows where. Trying to keep it at least PG for the advertisers. Okay, now we're at 11 minutes. Okay, it's at the final part of setup. I think somewhere around here, and it might be doing it now, it's trying to seek the floppy drive again, so it's going to hang up for about a minute or so. Okay, this part usually takes a little bit, but the good news is this is the final part, and we should be good to go after that. Okay, final restart, and after this we should be at the Windows ME desktop. Very exciting, I guess. Hope I don't regret this. Oh boy. Okay, put in my username. Oh yeah, the famous drums carried over from 98. Okay, here comes the desktop. There we are. Alright, of course we don't have any drivers installed. I've always find it interesting how when you install Windows ME and you don't have any drivers installed yet, namely the video driver, the taskbar has these little tiny little dots all around it, which is something you don't see in 95 or 98. Not sure why that's a thing here in ME, but I don't know. Okay, I'll go ahead and plug in my flash drive. Nice thing about ME is that you don't have to install a third-party driver for flash drives. You just plug it in and it automatically knows what to do with it. The funny thing about this flash drive is it's 128 gigs. Which is enormous for an OS this old. Again, it knows what to do with it. Don't have to manually install any drivers or anything. So we'll go ahead and go to the folder where my drivers are. There's one for ME. I just downloaded these a few minutes ago. And just for a little bit extra reliability, we'll copy it to the desktop. Now, if all the drivers had been installed on here already, on the first boot up, we would have seen that very infamous startup video that Windows ME was famous for, with the kid banging on the keyboard with a toy hammer, and we'll take a look at it later when we get all the drivers installed. So it's about done. Okay. Go ahead and remove the flash drive. We'll do it safely because Windows ME likes to scold you if you don't. Alright. And here's all our drivers. I always like to start off with the chipset driver. Okay. Oh, there's two of them open for some reason. Alright. Use an Intel chipset. No big surprise there. And I'll restart later. Next, let's do modem, assuming that it's the right driver. I don't ever use the dial-up modem on here, but it's one less exclamation mark in Device Manager. Oh, what's this? Huh, already detected the network card, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, let's go to the folder. Wait, I think I downloaded the owner's manual for the modem, not the driver. Ugh. Okay, I think I got the right driver now. So let's see. It's a PC Tel, at least I think this is it. That was the only driver on Dell's website. Oh. Yeah. Now, to be fair, this isn't a problem specifically with Windows ME. I've had this happen in 95 and 98 before. Sometimes when you start installing drivers after you first install Windows, it acts like the hard drive has been disconnected from the computer, which is very, very annoying. Yeah, it's dead. So we're going to have to do just a hard shutdown. And see if it'll turn back on. Okay, now it's going to install all the stuff for the chipset, which usually takes a little while, but at least it's working again. Okay, let's get back to installing these drivers, and hopefully we don't crash like that again. I doubt we will, but okay, let's go ahead and install the touchpad. I know I'm doing these completely out of order. Okay, there we go. Alright, this is simple enough. Restart later. Intel speed step. This lowers the CPU speed if you're running off a battery. I believe this is a 1 gigahertz Pentium 3 in this system. And next, now the Dell OS updates is going to force me to reboot no matter what, so we'll save that for last. This Softex Bay Manager, this will solve the problem of it getting hung up seeking a non-existent floppy drive. Now for audio, my least favorite part of this laptop. Okay. You might get sound immediately. Don't know for sure yet. Okay, we'll restart later. Okay, do we have sound? Not yet, but I'm sure we will after we restart. Okay, next is video. This has an ATI Radeon card in it with 16 megs of RAM, and it needs DirectX 8, but it's going to let me install anyway. Okay, just one more, and that's Dell OS updates. Okay, this one was different. It didn't force a restart, but we are going to go ahead and restart anyway, since that was the last driver. Alright. We've got full color, full resolution, 1024 by 768. We even got some sound. Go ahead and delete this driver folder. And auto-arrange there. I never liked how on Windows ME and Windows 2000 how it puts the My Documents folder above the My Computer icon. I know that's incredibly nitpicky of me, but anyway, there we go. That's more like it. Now let's check and see if all the drivers are installed. Okay, it never did install that modem driver, but I can come back to that later. But everything else seems to be in order. Windows ME, of course, was the first version of Windows to come with Windows Movie Maker. Don't remember this tour, though. And I can't remember if I ever used Windows Movie Maker on Windows ME or not. So I remember having it on Windows ME, of course, but I don't remember if I ever used it. Don't think I really used Movie Maker until the version on XP came along. But there it is. Very, 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 very basic movie editing. And of course, also a first for Windows. Here's System Restore, in case your young child bangs on your keyboard with a toy hammer and deletes all your files. Never could get it to work properly on ME. The only operating system I've ever successfully been able to use System Restore on was Windows XP. Anything before XP or after XP, like Vista 7 and beyond, I've never been able to get it to work for some reason. XP seemed to be the magic one that it would work right on. So yeah, Windows ME, it's a lot like Windows 98, but with some different colors, more features, and less DOS. And you can see the floppy drive isn't showing up there, which is what we want. And you can thank Softex Bay Manager for that. And let's make that a little bit bigger. There we go. So far, except for that one little blue screen issue installing that one driver, which I think is just a 9X related bug, I think this is running pretty well so far. So I think we need to celebrate by playing this. Here it comes. You know, I have never met any kid in my entire life who finds entertainment in banging on a computer keyboard with a toy plastic hammer. Seriously. Maybe you have, but I haven't. Yeah, it's always been a guilty pleasure of mine, that little video there. Hard to believe Windows ME will be 20 years old next year. But anyway, I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to install a bunch of software and games on here, And through the magic of video editing, you will see the result of that right now. Okay, it's actually been 2 days. I spent all day yesterday installing software and games on here. So let's go ahead and fire it up and see how she runs with Windows ME. Takes a little bit to boot up. So far, I haven't had any issue at all with this Windows ME install. It's been just rock solid. Only minor issue I've had is program installers for some reason take an unusual long amount of time to start up. But that's real minor. But other than that, no problems at all. Alright, already at the desktop. I've got my standard wallpaper. Go to the start menu and here's all that I got installed. Good amount of stuff. I got Office 2002 on here, along with Worksheet 2002. If it'll close out there, okay, Worksheet. And I hate that stupid portfolio. I don't know what the point of that thing is. I think it's there to annoy me. There's Worksheet 2002. And of course I even got DOSBox installed on here, but I don't have any DOS games copied over at the moment, because that's not really a priority with this computer. So let's just show a quick game or two. Go ahead and maximize that. I'm going to show a game I've never really shown on this channel before. And it's a game I played a fair bit amount growing up. And it's this SimCity 3000 Unlimited. In fact, we'll go ahead and open it up right here, because it's everything's in the box. I bought this complete in the box for a couple of dollars at a thrift store a couple of years ago. And everything came out the bottom. I'm going to have to put that back together. But here's all the goodies, like this really thick manual. This EA registration card, back when you had to do that by mail still. A reference card with the system requirements. And a little ad for the original Sims. I remember getting that when it first came out. Hard to believe how big a game it is now. And Sim Coaster. So, here's the CD. Go ahead and open the drive and we'll pop it on in. Hopefully the drive will cooperate this time. Sometimes it doesn't. And I just sat on the box for the game. Not good. Alright, go ahead and load it up. A little opening animation. I remember when I first just discovered the existence of the original SimCity 3000, the non-unlimited version, was in spring of 1999, I want to say, at a Target in Winston-Salem, and I was just blown away by the graphics quality compared to SimCity 2000. And I even remember running SimCity 3000 on the Packard Bell Legend 822 CDT. Ran like absolute garbage for obvious reasons. No, we can go ahead and skip that. That was taking longer than I thought it would. Let's see. Set it to 1024 by 768. And of course it has to restart. Go through all this all over again. But the quality should be a little bit better. So let's just load a sample city, I guess. Let's see. Sacramento, California. That's where most of the mid-90s Packard Bells were manufactured, believe it or not. And here we are, Sacramento, California. Game's a little bit slow to start up at first, but it should clear its head up a little bit soon. Apparently it's the year 2056. There's an expressway there. It's not like I remember hearing the same music in SimCity 4 or something similar. Yeah, this game does get a little bit slow on this system. But just at first, it should clear itself up momentarily. And it's already speeding up as we speak. Of course, last time I played this game was on the Carolina Flyer, which has a very beefy GeForce 4MX in it, so it's at a little bit of an advantage over this computer. Sorry, anyone who's watching this from Sacramento, but I'm about to blow you guys up. Earthquake, which I imagine would be kind of common over there. I've never seen a real tornado in person before, and I am really glad I haven't, because they terrify me. Toxic cloud. Shouldn't have had that burrito for lunch. And a riot. Not sure what they're rioting about, but plague of locusts. Again, anyone watching this from Sacramento, California, the real Sacramento, I apologize for what I'm doing to your fair city. Space junk. Okay, I think Sacramento's had enough. Sorry, citizens, but I had to do it for a video. So anyway, I am really impressed with how well Windows ME is running on this computer. I'm one of those people that believes Windows ME is highly underrated. I would use it more, but again, I just prefer the overall look and feel of 98, and plus I like having access to real mode DOS when I can. So, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll go ahead and shut it down now, and we'll see you for the next video. Until then, this is Billy Core, signing off. Thank you for visiting the Nostalgia Mall. If you liked what you saw, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also support me on Patreon if you would like. The link to all of these are down below. Until next time, this is Billy Core, signing off.